Setting your exposure triangle is something every cameraman out there must know how to set in order to have an amazing and incredible pictures. We have had bad pictures over time because of wrong setting for our exposure triangles. An exposure triangle is also called a camera exposure. It helps determine how dark or bright an image appears when being captured. When you capture an image, the brightness of that image and the darkness of that image is all geared towards the setting you give to your exposure triangle. That's to tell you how powerful your exposure triangle is. And we have three main types of exposure triangle, which is the ISO, the shutter speed, and the aperture. What is the ISO? The ISO stands for International Standard Organization. It helps regulate the amount of light that is needed to capture a particular image. One good attribute of an ISO is that when you have an accurate setting for ISO, it's definitely going to have an image made up of details, an image free of grays or noise, and an image with a good saturation. The second type of an exposure triangle is the aperture. The aperture determines the amount of light that enters into the camera, and the aperture is measured in f-stop. You see your screen there, f1.4, 1.6, 1.7, and so on. These are all the aperture rates of this camera. For you to have more light entering into your camera, you have to use a lower aperture rate. But for you to have less light entering into your camera, you have to use a higher aperture rate. The third type of exposure triangle is shutter speed. The shutter speed gives the duration or the length of time a light reaches the sensor. It's being measured in fractions of seconds. Like you see in your screen there, 1/40, 1/50, 1/60, and 1/100 as the case may be. Those are the shutter speed of this camera setting. For you to be able to have an image that is either underexposed or overexposed are all geared towards the setting you give to your exposure triangle. You must know when to reduce your ISO, you must know when to increase your ISO, you must know when to reduce or increase your aperture to have an incredible and amazing picture. As time goes on, we are going to exploit these three exposure triangles, and you'll see how it's being set, how it's being used to capture individuals, and what result did it give. So you can know the kind of setting you give to your ISO, your shutter speed, or your aperture when taking a particular image. One great attribute of the shutter speed is that it brings about motion blur in an image. And one great attribute of the aperture is that it gives depth of field to your image. So that means you can never do without these two exposure triangles. So I advise every cameraman there to have a good setting for your exposure triangles. In doing so, you're definitely going to have a good picture. Thank you so much for sticking to the end of this amazing lesson. See you next time on the Diary of a Camera.